Welcome to this explainer. Today, we absolutely have to talk about what is arguably the greatest productivity crisis of the modern world. You know the feeling, right? You're constantly behind, overwhelmed, maybe totally unable to focus. And it's so easy to just beat yourself up and call it laziness. But actually, scratch that. It isn't laziness at all. It's attention fragmentation. Every single day, your cognitive bandwidth is basically being hijacked in these tiny, almost imperceptible increments. So we're going to unpack the fascinating science behind how your daily habits literally reshape your brain's architecture over time. And more importantly, we're going to look at exactly how you can take that power back. So I want you to picture something for a second. Imagine you're sitting down trying to read a really deeply engaging book, but someone is standing right next to you, just poking you on the shoulder and interrupting you every 30 seconds. I mean, it'd be completely impossible to comprehend what you're reading, right? You'd be frustrated, you'd be exhausted, and you'd honestly probably just give up and throw the book across the room. Yet remarkably, that is exactly how most of us instinctively use our smartphones. We basically invite this constant, relentless tapping on our virtual shoulders. Just think about the landscape we're dealing with today. We've got unnecessary apps begging for your time. Those snappy 15-second videos designed to just loop endlessly. The infinite scroll that literally never gives your brain a stopping cue. And, of course, the constant barrage of pings and notifications. We tend to think of checking our devices dozens of times a day as, just a relatively harmless quirk of modern life. But here's the reality. Over months and years, these micro-interruptions don't just distract you in the moment, they actually become your brain's default operating system. Okay, let's move to section 1, inside your distracted brain. Let's take a look at the attention economy. You see, the problem actually isn't your smartphone itself. The problem is the invisible machinery running behind the screen. In this massive, multi-billion-dollar competition for your attention, there's a huge misconception we really need to clear up. We hear the word dopamine thrown around constantly, usually painted as this villain that just causes pleasure and addiction. But that's a total myth. In reality, dopamine is primarily about motivation, learning, and the anticipation of rewards. When your phone buzzes with an unpredictable notification, your brain isn't necessarily feeling pleasure. It's feeling anticipation. It expects a reward. Over time, you reach for your phone not because you actually need to check it, but because your brain has been trained to predict that, hey, something interesting might happen. And every single time you succumb to that urge, you add to something psychologists call cognitive load. Think of cognitive load as the amount of working memory occupied by completely unnecessary information, which leaves you with vastly fewer resources for actual deep thinking. Imagine you're using a computer, right? If you have one heavy program running, it works perfectly smoothly. But what happens if you open 50 different programs at the exact same time? The whole system stutters, the fans kick into high gear, and performance basically crawls to a halt. Well, your brain works in the exact same way. In practice, all of those mental open tabs just eat away at your working memory. A huge chunk goes straight to the anxiety of unread emails. Another slice is taken up by the subconscious awareness of background notifications. And then you've got the mental weight of all those half-finished tasks that you abandoned just to check a text. Look at what's left here. Just that tiny, narrow sliver of bandwidth remains for your actual deep thinking, complex problem solving, and creativity. So you might think you're successfully multitasking, but you're actually falling victim to what's known as attention residue. Let's say you pause your main work just to answer one quick, harmless email. When you shift your eyes back to your main project, your brain hasn't fully returned with you. A significant part of your attention remains completely stuck on processing that previous email. Frequent task switching completely tanks your performance because your mind is constantly dragging this invisible residue from one task to the next. Which brings us to section 2, how brain habits change. Let's talk about neuroplasticity. That mental fog you feel at the end of the day, it isn't laziness, it's actually a physical response to your repeated behaviors. Just look at how this plays out over time. Because of neuroplasticity, your brain wires itself to get better at whatever you ask it to do most. If your repeated behavior is constantly scrolling, your neural architecture adapts by becoming incredibly efficient at rapid-fire scanning, but that comes at the direct expense of deep focus. Conversely, if you repeatedly read deeply, your brain physically strengthens the exact pathways required for sustained attention. If you practice concentration, your concentration quite literally improves. Your daily inputs and habits are literally the building blocks of your neural architecture. Now, if you found that sitting down to do long-form reading, studying, or complex writing feels agonizingly difficult right now, I want to reassure you, your brain is not broken. If you've spent the last several years consuming bite-sized, 15-second videos, deep focus is simply going to feel uncomfortable at first. It is not impossible, it's just untrained. It's like asking a marathon runner to sprint without warming up. The really great news here is that because of neuroplasticity, your brain can absolutely be retrained. All right, Section 3, the default mode network, and what happens when your mind rests. To begin retraining your brain, the first step is actually letting it rest. We're so conditioned to think that a resting, wandering mind is just an idle, unproductive mind, but that couldn't be further from the truth. When your mind rests, like truly rests without staring at a screen, the default mode network fires up. This network is entirely responsible for the moments when creativity sparks. It's when memory consolidation occurs, moving everything you've learned into long-term storage. It's where deep future planning and self-reflection actually happen. Constant 24/7 digital stimulation completely robs you of this vital brain state. Moving into Section 4, reclaiming your attention through your information diet. Just like we obsess over checking ingredients and macros in our physical diets, we really need to apply that exact same rigor to what our brains consume. The solution lies in a philosophy called digital minimalism. Now, to be super clear, digital minimalism isn't about becoming a hermit, living in the woods, and entirely rejecting technology. It's about shifting your mindset to use technology intentionally. Instead of asking, oh, what cool thing can this app do? The minimalist asks, does this app genuinely improve my life or my goals? It's about demoting technology back to its rightful place as a useful tool, rather than allowing it to be your entire living environment. And to do that successfully, you have to acknowledge the hidden cost of notifications. Listen, even the notifications that you actively choose to ignore are taxing your brain. Every single buzz forces a subconscious decision. It causes a micro-context switch, interrupts your precious working memory, and often triggers a low-level stress response. Because even if you don't physically pick up the phone, your brain is busy creating an involuntary, lingering urge to monitor that incoming information. This is exactly why a digital reset is so incredibly powerful. Here's how it generally plays out. Step 1, you remove the social media apps from your phone, turn off all non-essential push notifications, and just stop the endless scrolling. Step 2, and I am warning you about this right now, you're going to experience a fierce initial craving. Your brain will literally beg for that rapid-fire stimulation. But hang in there, because by step 3, usually within just a few days, you'll hit an incredible state of clarity. Your focus starts returning, not because your brain magically got faster overnight, but because your attention is finally unfragmented. To sustain this long-term, you really need a highly actionable daily framework. You need to map out a healthy information diet from the moment you wake up to the moment you sleep. It looks something like this. For the first 30 to 60 minutes of your morning, absolutely no phone. Just let your brain wake up naturally. During your core work hours, commit to single tasking and disable all non-essential alerts. Try to carve out just 30 minutes for daily long-form reading without a single interruption, just to build up that sustained focus muscle. And finally, for the last hour before bed, no screens. Just allow your brain to wind down properly. Ultimately, all of this boils down to one very empowering truth. Technology is not inherently evil, and it isn't inherently destroying your brain. But unconscious, automatic use of that technology is absolutely reshaping your attention for the worse. The countermeasure is simple, though it does require discipline. Conscious, deliberate use is exactly how you reclaim your cognitive bandwidth. You have to take control of your daily habits to fight back against the attention economy. So as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a question to challenge you right now, today. Think about the device sitting next to you and ask yourself, what notification will you consciously choose to ignore today, just to let your brain actually do its best work? Start with just one. Take back that sliver of your attention and just watch how it transforms your entire day.